Today we pay tribute to Lord Norman Tebbit, one of the most hardline and iconic figures in British conservative politics, who passed away peacefully at the age of 94. Born in 1931 in Ponders End, North London, Norman Tebbit's early life was shaped by post-war Britain. He began his career not in politics, but in the skies, serving as a pilot in the Royal Air Force. Later, he turned to journalism, writing for financial publications before eventually entering politics. He was elected as a Member of Parliament in 1970 for the Epping constituency, and soon after, his political climb began in earnest. When Margaret Thatcher became Prime Minister in 1979, Tebbit became one of her closest allies and most trusted lieutenants. Known for his razor-sharp tongue and uncompromising views, Tebbit famously told unemployed people to get on their bikes and look for work, a phrase that quickly became both a motto of conservative self-reliance and a symbol of the economic hardships of the era. As Secretary of State for Employment and later for Trade and Industry, Tebbit was a driving force behind Thatcher's economic reforms, battling trade unions and pushing for deregulation and privatization. He was unflinching in his beliefs, often drawing fierce criticism from the opposition and the press, yet earning deep respect from his supporters for his clarity, conviction, and consistency. But Tebbit's political career was marked not only by policy, but by personal tragedy. In 1984, during the Conservative Party conference in Brighton, an IRA bomb tore through the Grand Hotel, killing 5 and injuring many. Tebbit was pulled from the rubble with severe injuries. His wife, Margaret, who was staying with him, was permanently paralyzed. The attack shocked the nation. Yet even in the face of such personal loss, Tebbit did not step back. Instead, he returned to public life with even more resolve, embodying the very resilience he so often demanded of others. Later, he was appointed chairman of the Conservative Party, where he was instrumental in party strategy and maintaining internal discipline. In 1992, he was made a life peer and entered the House of Lords, where he remained a vocal and often controversial figure. Long after retiring from frontline politics, Tebbit continued to write newspaper columns and appeared frequently in media, especially on issues of national identity, immigration, and Britain's role in Europe. He was one of the early advocates of the United Kingdom leaving the European Union, years before Brexit became a mainstream cause, and his unwavering stance won him admiration among Eurosceptics. Though critics often accused him of being overly harsh, even reactionary, Norman Tebbit was never a man to sway with public opinion. He was principled, direct, and believed deeply in a Britain of personal responsibility, strong national values, and economic freedom. His speeches in Parliament, his television appearances, and even his interviews in later years often sparked national debate, because when Tebbit spoke, people listened whether they agreed or not. His life story is not just that of a politician, but of a fighter, a survivor, and a man of steel who carried both public duty and personal pain with remarkable strength. As we remember Lord Tebbit today, we look back at a towering figure in British politics, controversial, unwavering, and deeply influential. His ideas, many of which once seemed extreme, have shaped decades of conservative thought and continue to influence the direction of British policy today. Lord Norman Tebbit has passed, but his legacy remains, etched into the very history of Britain's modern political journey. Today, we honor the life and music of Ariel Calma, the legendary French composer and pioneer of ambient and new age electronic music, who passed away on July 8, 2025, at the age of 78. Born in Paris in 1947, Ariel's journey into the world of music began not in the spotlight, but in quiet corners of experimentation, meditation, and spiritual discovery. A curious soul from an early age, Calma was not just a musician. He was a sonic explorer. He grew up listening to a variety of genres, from jazz to psychedelic rock, but found himself deeply drawn to the deeper, more transcendental power of sound. His musical path truly crystallized in the 1970s, when he began using synthesizers and tape loops to create extended soundscapes that were immersive, hypnotic, and deeply meditative. At a time when electronic music was still in its infancy, Kalma's work stood out for its emotional depth and spiritual intent. His debut album, Le Temps de Moissons, followed by the critically acclaimed Osmos, remained touchstones in the ambient genre, masterpieces that seamlessly blended traditional instruments, electronic textures, and field recordings from the natural world. Kalma's music was never meant to be mainstream. It was an invitation to slow down, to breathe, and to listen more deeply. While many of his contemporaries were chasing commercial success, Kalma chose a path that was rooted in authenticity. His travels to India in the 1970s left a lasting impact on his sound. He studied Indian classical music, explored raga structures, and incorporated them into his electronic compositions, giving rise to a unique fusion of East and West. In fact, many musicologists credit Kalma as one of the earliest artists to truly globalize ambient music, long before it became a recognized genre. His work was healing, reflective, and deeply human. For those who experienced his live performances or listened to his recordings in solitude, it felt less like entertainment and more like a spiritual experience. Throughout the decades, Kalma continued to release music independently, never compromising on his vision. He collaborated with like-minded artists around the world, including Robert Ike, Aubrey Lowe, and Gilbert Artman, and in his later years, saw a revival of interest in his early work, with reissues of his 70s catalog finding new audiences among vinyl collectors and ambient music fans. Despite his growing cult following, Kalma remained humble and spiritually grounded. He believed in music not as performance, but as presence, a way to tune the soul, realign energy, and heal emotional wounds. His recordings often featured the natural sounds of wind, rivers, birds, and distant chanting, woven together into a tapestry of peace. In interviews, Kalma often spoke about the inner journey and how music was a tool to reach beyond the noise of modern life. His philosophy resonated with listeners facing anxiety, spiritual seekers, and creatives alike. As wellness and mindfulness culture expanded globally in the 2010s and 2020s, Kalma's music found a new generation. Used in yoga studios, meditation apps, and film soundtracks, his sounds traveled quietly but powerfully into the world. Even up until his last years, he was actively composing, mentoring younger artists, and sharing wisdom through online masterclasses and musical retreats. His passing marks not just the loss of a talented composer, but of a spiritual guide in sound. Kalma didn't just make music, he created sonic portals to inner stillness. In a world that moves fast and speaks loud, his work offered silence, space, and serenity. He may be gone, but his legacy lives on in every note that breathes, every drone that hums, and every soul that seeks peace through sound. For those who've ever sat still with headphones on, listening to the timeless resonance of Kalma's music, you already know he didn't just compose melodies, he composed moments of magic. Rest in peace, Maestro. The world will continue to feel your vibrations. Today, we honor the life of David Greenwood, the towering 6'9" American basketball player who left an indelible mark on both college and professional basketball. Greenwood passed away on July 8, 2025, at the age of 68 after a courageous battle with cancer. Born 1957 in Linwood, California, Greenwood was a quiet but commanding presence on the court from a young age. He rose to national prominence while playing college basketball at UCLA, one of the most storied programs in NCAA history. Succeeding legends like Bill Walton and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was no small task, but Greenwood managed to carve his own path, becoming a two-time All-American and a dominant force in the paint. His ability to rebound, block shots, and score with consistency made him a top NBA draft prospect. In 1979, he was selected second overall by the Chicago Bulls, just one pick behind future Hall of Famer Magic Johnson. Though he joined a struggling Bulls franchise at the time, Greenwood quickly became a foundational player, known for his strong work ethic, defensive prowess, and team-first mentality. Throughout the 1980s, Greenwood played a crucial role for several NBA teams, including the Bulls, San Antonio Spurs, and later the Detroit Pistons. He wasn't the flashiest player on the court, but his impact was undeniable. He brought calm, experience, and discipline, especially valuable for younger teams looking for a stabilizing veteran. His years with the Spurs were particularly noteworthy, as he teamed up with players like George Gervin and helped lead the franchise to multiple playoff runs. By the time he joined the Detroit Pistons in the early 90s, he was part of a championship-caliber roster, offering leadership in the locker room and valuable minutes off the bench. Greenwood's career numbers, over 7,000 points and 5,000 rebounds, only tell part of the story. What truly defined him was his consistency, professionalism, and commitment to the team above personal accolades. While many of his peers chased individual glory, Greenwood played the game with humility and grace, understanding that true greatness often lies in doing the dirty work, diving for loose balls, setting screens, defending the toughest opponent. Off the court, Greenwood was equally impressive. Known for his soft-spoken nature and thoughtful demeanor, he was deeply involved in community work, mentoring young athletes and supporting educational initiatives in underserved neighborhoods. After retiring from the NBA, he stayed close to the game, taking up coaching roles at the collegiate and high school levels, where he inspired a new generation of players. He never sought the spotlight, but those who played with him, coached him, or simply watched him play will tell you that David Greenwood was the kind of player every coach dreams of: disciplined, reliable, and always focused on the team's success. His battle with cancer in recent years was fought with the same quiet strength he showed on the court. He didn't complain, didn't publicize his struggle. He simply endured, surrounded by loved ones, remaining a pillar of strength even in his final days. Today, the basketball world mourns the loss of a true gentleman of the game. In an era where statistics often overshadow character, Greenwood stood out as someone who brought both talent and integrity to every arena he entered. His legacy isn't found in championship rings or MVP trophies. It's found in the respect he earned from teammates, the young athletes he mentored, and the countless lives he touched with his calm, determined spirit. As we say goodbye to David Greenwood, we remember a man who never needed to be the loudest voice in the room to be heard. His quiet leadership, his dedication to excellence, and his love for the game will echo through the halls of basketball history forever. Rest in peace, David. You were, and always will be, one of the game's true professionals. Today, we remember and honor Mugnati Gopinath, a respected Indian politician and member of the Telangana Legislative Assembly, who passed away on July 8, 2025, at the age of 63 due to a sudden heart attack. His untimely death shocked political circles across India and left a deep void in the hearts of his constituents in the Jubilee Hills constituency, where he served with unwavering dedication since 2014. Born in 1962 in Hyderabad, Gopinath began his journey in public service with a vision to make politics more accessible, transparent, and focused on grassroots development. Before becoming an MLA, he served as a corporator and built a strong reputation for being approachable, responsive, and efficient. His entry into the state assembly under the banner of the Telangana Rashtra Samiti, TRS, marked the beginning of a decade-long political career defined by community service, infrastructure development, and inclusive growth. Unlike many politicians who chase limelight, Gopinath was known for his silent efficiency. He believed in results over rhetoric, and that philosophy won him the trust of thousands. Throughout his time in office, Mugnati Gopinath championed numerous development projects in his constituency, improving roads, drainage systems, public parks, and digital infrastructure. He played a vital role in the urban transformation of Jubilee Hills, once a relatively quiet locality, into one of the most vibrant and well-connected zones in Hyderabad. He was particularly passionate about education and healthcare, allocating funds for government school upgrades and initiating health camps in underprivileged areas. His direct interaction with citizens, be it during local festivals, relief drives, or door-to-door visits, made him not just a politician, but a part of the people's everyday lives. He understood the pulse of the common man and addressed issues ranging from street lighting to youth employment with the same sincerity. His simplicity in speech, respect for all communities, and cooperative spirit, even with political rivals, earned him admiration across party lines. Gopinath's commitment extended beyond politics. He actively supported environmental initiatives like tree plantation drives, lake cleanups, and sustainable urban planning. His leadership style was democratic and inclusive. He empowered local ward members, encouraged youth participation in politics, and mentored dozens of aspiring leaders. In a political climate often marked by polarization and confrontation, Gopinath stood out for his calm demeanor and problem-solving approach. He avoided personal attacks and instead focused on consensus building. It is no surprise that he won re-election in 2018 with a comfortable margin, as voters recognized in him a rare blend of humility, experience, and vision. Even during the COVID-19 pandemic, Gopinath was on the front lines, ensuring oxygen supplies, food distribution, and support for struggling families, risking his own health to serve others. His sudden passing on July 8th left his family, party members, and constituents in deep sorrow. Tributes poured in from across the political spectrum, with leaders describing him as a quiet warrior, a true people's servant, and an irreplaceable force in Telangana's political fabric. For those who worked with him closely, Mugnutty Gopinath will be remembered not just for the projects he delivered, but for the dignity with which he carried himself. He believed that politics should be about service, not spectacle. As we say goodbye to a man who never chased headlines, but whose work spoke volumes, we are reminded of the kind of leader every democracy needs: humble, hardworking, honest, and human. Rest in peace, Mugnutty Gopinath. Your legacy will live on in every road you built, every family you helped, and every young leader you inspired. Today, we pay tribute to Eric Bott, one of France's most respected journalists, who passed away on July 8th, 2025, at the age of 68. A fierce defender of truth, transparency, and journalistic integrity, Bott spent more than 4 decades shaping the landscape of French and European media. Born in Marseille in 1957, Eric came of age in a rapidly changing France, where politics, migration, and international relations were constantly evolving. From an early age, he was drawn to storytelling, not for entertainment, but as a means to inform and empower. After earning his degree in political science and journalism in Paris, he joined France 3 and later Le Monde as a field reporter. His early career was marked by bold assignments in conflict zones, covering the war in the Balkans, the Gulf crisis, and major political upheavals in North Africa. Bott's reporting was fearless and deeply human. He didn't just tell stories, he lived them. From war zones to refugee camps, he documented the voices of those often ignored, always asking tough questions to those in power, while keeping the camera focused on the people most affected. Eric Bott quickly gained a reputation for his sharp intellect, ethical clarity, and elegant writing. In the 1990s and early 2000s, he transitioned into broadcast journalism, where his articulate commentary and analytical depth made him a trusted voice on French evening news panels and international forums. He was a frequent guest on France 24, Radio France Internationale, and was often sought after for his take on international diplomacy, humanitarian crises, and press freedom. But Bott was never just a studio analyst. He remained a field journalist at heart. Even in his later years, he continued to travel for assignments in post-conflict zones, investigative reports on environmental corruption, and exposés on political extremism. He received multiple national and international awards, including the prestigious Prix Albert Londres, for his courageous journalism. His 2010 documentary on human trafficking in Europe is still considered one of the most powerful works in investigative media from France. Outside of the newsroom, Eric Bott was a passionate mentor to young journalists. He taught journalism ethics at Sciences Po and led workshops on fact-checking and responsible reporting in various countries. He believed that the future of journalism depended not just on technology, but on values, accuracy, empathy, and accountability. Bott often spoke about the duty of the witness, the role of journalists not just to observe, but to bear responsibility for the stories they tell. His words carried weight because they were matched by action. During the COVID-19 pandemic, when many reporters pulled back, Bott remained active, covering health system failures, vaccine inequities, and the rise of misinformation. He stood firm against rising anti-media sentiment and was one of the most vocal advocates for press protections in the European Parliament hearings in 2023. Eric Bott's sudden passing has left a void not just in French media, but in global journalism. Tributes from world leaders, fellow reporters, and journalism students alike describe him as a lighthouse of truth, a quiet revolutionary, and the moral compass of our profession. His funeral in Paris was attended by dignitaries, NGOs, and ordinary citizens whose lives he touched with his reporting. As we reflect on his legacy, we realize that Eric Bott was more than a journalist. He was a witness to history, a challenger of power, and a believer in the human story. In an age flooded with noise, bias, and speed, he reminded us that journalism, at its best, is slow, careful, and deeply compassionate. Though his voice is now silent, his work continues to inspire and educate, reminding future generations that truth still matters, and so do those who dare to tell it. Rest in peace, Eric Bott. Your pen, your camera, and your conscience lit a path the world still needs to follow.